All right, we hope you're doing well today as we get ready for a long day. It's going to be a really long day all across the southern United States here and into the heart of the nation as well, where, this is going to be a prolific system that we'll be talking about in so many different facets because it's going to be a huge snowmaker across portions of Oklahoma, western Texas, actually, into Oklahoma, and all the way up through portions of the lower sections of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley in particular. We're getting up into the eastern side of Missouri, the Boot Hill there. We'll see some heavy snowfall. Down to the south, it's all about tornadoes and the likelihood or the possibility of tornadoes that will be taking place as we go into the rest of the afternoon, into this evening, as some of the parameters get set here and really start to come together, or do they? That is the big question at this point. We have some of the conditions that are favorable for tornadoes and some that are just not. So we're going to be looking at this hour by hour as we go along, seeing what actually materializes and checking against our data at what is likely going to happen. Right now, we're going to go right to the radar and show you. We do have a tornado warning. It's one of about 5 we've had so far this morning. Back into the state of Texas. Let me zoom out here and show you the overall picture. There is a tornado watch that is in effect right here that goes all the way over to Louisiana, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Tornado watch box, meaning conditions are favorable for tornadoes to occur. Going into the rest of this afternoon, goes till 6 o'clock tonight, actually, in Central Standard Time for southwestern Louisiana, the middle or upper part of the Texas coast, and the coastal waters as well. A few tornadoes likely, with a couple of intense tornadoes is the writing on this now from the SPC. Thunderstorm coverage expected to increase as we go along through the rest of the afternoon. And we have particularly strong low-level shear that's occurring here. And that's indicating that we have winds that will be going in differing directions with height veering. And then we're going to see that. But the inhibiting factor, which goes in the opposite direction, which is almost nil, is the availability of instability that would cause the air to rise rapidly in any of these locations. It's a pinched off area, as you'll see. We'll go through it hour by hour here in just a little bit, but it doesn't extend so far behind or beyond that we'd have those kind of conditions. But I can tell you right now, it's enough to be producing tornado warnings across this area right in and around Houston. And we were looking at the model last night, and there was a curved shaped radar reflectivity, sign there in Sugarland right at noon today, and the HRR that we were looking at and drawing attention to, and there it is. Right now, for the next 20 minutes, it's a tornado warning in effect for League City. That'll also be for Fort Bend County, into the Waller County area there, as well as Harris County, underneath the tornado warning. That goes until 12:45. This afternoon, which means you got about 30 more minutes on this tornado warning at the moment. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado over Katy and moving to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. There already is a storm report here of a tornado in Colorado County there, and this might be a tornado view by a spotter there. Debris was seen. Actually, this is right at 11:30, almost an hour ago now, when the thing was back around Eagle Lake. And we'll effort getting some of that video to you coming up here in just a few moments. Now, we got a lot of our people out there as well. We have Brad Arnold, who is just in advance of this system at the moment. I see Brad right there. And he is following the storm as he goes off to the north and northeast. We got Brett Adair, who is on the storm as well. We've been talking and following Brett as we've gone through the day today. Brett is sort of staged up here back a little further to the east near Lafayette in Louisiana, and we've been watching Brett's image here as we've gone through the past couple of hours here. It's 56 degrees where he is. So again, the instability, 56 over 49, I believe it is, and that is not unstable. It's going to take it a while for that to be the case as we go through the afternoon. We'll start to see the southerly wind come up and change that as we go through time. But right now, that is not the case. We're not seeing the overall area bringing in any warm, moist air at the moment. Brett's picture, his video, is right above me here. You can see that, or you were seeing that just seconds ago, as he is headed down the highway. I think he's right there on I-10 at the moment as he continues to ride northward in and across the area. And we'll just keep our eyes on him here. Again, that tornado warning, they just reissued that again. That's going to be a continuation of the old warning. Still goes until 12:45 Central Time there near Corville, Texas, just outside of Jersey Village in the Adix area there. That's going to be, well, I just want to show you something. And, we talk, sometimes we only got a couple of people within a polygon. There's 1,000,002, well, 1,020,000 in this one polygon. So that's going to be on the northwestern side of Houston, Texas. And a tremendous amount of lightning, too. Can you see all this lightning that's going on? I mean, there's just bunches of that still continues across this area. Let's go to the radar 2 out of League City and show you what we are talking about. And at the moment, the heaviest precipitation that's moving along the area here is responsible for some of the stronger thunderstorms that we've been watching, too. These are all headed on north and eastward across the region. They'll load up and do that as we get into the next several hours. Let me get rid of some of the stuff here to sort of show you what's happening with the other picture here. And I can show you that a lot of this data here, I'm just going to get rid of the tornado watch for just a moment so you can see underneath it at everything else that is happening. We got a lot happening, by the way. But there's your storms for the moment. As it all moves northeastward, it's going to be picking up a lot of the interior part of this and kicking it northward along the Gulf Coast and throughout the rest of the area as we do go through time. So kind of looking out for all of that as well. We can take Brett's picture here for just a moment, maybe take him full. That'll help me out to take a look here and see where our data is down at this moment, but we're still looking at some of the precipitation as it comes in, producing very heavy rainfall as we go through the next several hours. Some of that will be a continuation moving all the way along the Gulf Coast through the night tonight and the early part of the day tomorrow as well, and then making its way all along the I-10 corridor and beyond. So we have our eyes on that as we move along into the next little while, because I still think some of that stuff is going to be all the way up until about midnight tonight into the western portions of the U.S. and make its way just outside of South Alabama during the overnight hours tonight, as early as midnight or so, and then passing on to the east at a pretty rapid pace as we get into the day tomorrow, which actually tomorrow we're going to go from having this enhanced risk across the deep south. We'll end up with a slight risk for the day tomorrow that goes all the way up the Atlantic seaboard, trying to cover all the coasts at this point. It looks like that's what we're going to do. And more of the same headed into the overnight hours for tomorrow night as well. Right now, you're looking at I-10 traveling to the west. On I-10, the cloud cover there pretty low. Not a lot of breaks into the cloud cover, so we're not expecting a lot as far as any more instability being created there at the moment. It doesn't look like that would be the case. Looks like it's going to be a short sort of a situation there to begin with as you kick off all of those showers and the thunderstorms as they build from the south to the north and make their way across and into the interior of Texas. How far to the north can they make it and still be in the zone of veering that would be creating the tornadoes that are popping up here and there? And already, now that we've had a verification, that gives us a little bit of information as to what's going on. It lets us know specifically about what's going on with the atmosphere there. We know that we do have enough noticeable shearing going on right there into Texas for this to already have occurred. So decent information there overall with the whole as we currently look at it. But the big storms down there to the south, just south of Houston, Texas is what we're watching, and they kick up and they pull out pretty much, as we said, moving at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. Right now, the big storm that you can see is right here in the central sections of Houston, Texas. We can go back to the radar now, or that radar as well. We're looking at this thing expiring in about 6 minutes. We got 60 mile per hour forward movement here, 1 inch hail in diameter that's associated with that as well. And there's Houston. You can see in the Houston area all of the precipitation there with it. Don't see a whole lot of, well, actually, I just don't think it's on, because on the other radar here, we got tons of lightning beginning to show up coming into the Jersey Village area there just outside of Cypress, where some of the heavier precipitation is going to be and has been over the last 30 minutes or so, coming in from the west and again from west to east. It's going to be one of those days where we're going to be talking about so many facets of weather too, because some of our folks who are out there out and about, you'll be seeing in just a little bit, because we'll go around the horn and show you some of the video here as we move along around the horn, so much that we'll be looking at snow falling across many of these areas all the way up into that region. In fact, where do you have to go to find snowfall? Let's just take a look at the winter weather radar here. And you start to pick up the snow as soon as you get a little bit further to the north. I mean, we're probably still talking about making it all the way back across the Red River Put the radar in here, and I'll put the composite, which will give us a better idea about where the winter weather is. And composite-wise, it says we're right there at the Red River. Wichita Falls is our cutoff line where the winter weather is going to be. Looking at it at this point, you've got a line here between what is a cold rain. This is all rain down to the south that's showing up, and then you got your big S++ going on up here. Some of it really heavy. In fact, if you look, there is a meso discussion about the heavy snowfall right in this region. 2 periods of moderate to heavy snow should develop across portions of central Oklahoma and Arkansas this afternoon. A couple of 1 to 1.5 inch snowfall rates are possible, resulting in periods of reduced visibility and tremendous snowball fights. When you get that kind of a thing going on right there across that area, please do as much as you can stay off the roadways there. We never tell you that you shouldn't be on the roadway. We don't do that, but you can see what's happening here into the overall where we got, this is down at Norman, actually, Norman, Oklahoma. We got 34 degrees at the present. We got all of those conditions there that'll continue to deteriorate going through the rest of this afternoon and into this evening, too. Then you go down to Plano, and we got 40 degrees here. Not cold enough for snowfall. That's just an ugly, big, ugly old rain that is occurring there across that region, too. So we'll keep our eyes on that as well. Got Brad, Big B, sitting there just to the east of Houston, Texas. He's watching this storm coming in now just outside of Pasadena, where we do have the high winds associated with what may be another tornado, at least as far as the warnings go, indicating where we might have a tornado associated with this storm. I got to put that back on here. I rebooted this thing just moments ago so that we could restart. Let me put our warnings back in here as we see them, all weather alerts. There you go. Bing, bang, boom. There's your tornado warning at the moment. Jersey Village, back over to Cypress. Got a little kidney bean sort of shape to that thing at the moment, but if you look at the reflectivity and then go down to the velocity, it's nasty. It doesn't really show up there very well, but here's your velocity data with everything flying all over the place, and this really kind of looks like, to me, it's blowing outward. It's not really gate-to-gate shear going on with this at this point. You can see there's a very well-defined flow, though, that goes away from the storm, kind of like in this direction right here. That would tell me that this is an outflow boundary associated with what might be a little meso moving on through the region there. And if we do have a tornado, it's more than likely going to be up here near the comma head of this, right about here, right about there as it goes on out of 290. That's going to be US 290 that goes west to east across the area and then down to the south into the Jersey Village region there, too. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning. I know it's hard to see in all of that clutter, but we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that has occurred there, too, for high winds. We're basically looking at some of these wind speeds in excess of 60 to 70 that'll be likely through the day today, and we'll keep you abreast of the main part of what's happening there, too. If we look at the alerts here, I'm going to get rid of the severe thunderstorm warning. I'm just going to clean up here for just a moment. The watch, we all know where the watch is. And that's a little bit better. I think I'm going to go with a different sort of a map here, too, that might be a little bit more visible when we come to everything. Let's go with a dark presentation, and please don't hang up. Please don't hang up. Please rebuild. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better there, but that's the Jersey City. We got some high winds here, like I was just talking about. Some of these winds are in excess of 40 to 50 ahead of this little blower as it comes out. This is the rear flank, if you will, of a storm. This is the rear flank that comes in around the backside and crashes from above where you got the cooler air coming in. This would be the gust situation here that's ongoing, and that's driving on eastward. No longer do I really see anything that's going on. Sure before I shoot my mouth off that we don't have some sort of a drop there. It's a close call because this is contaminated. We got hail in it. I hate it when there's hail involved in these things because contamination takes place. But this could be a little bit of a CC drop right there. They don't say that when they issued the tornado warning. They didn't say. But this is a little bit different than just hail. This is the anomaly that shows up within this product, which tells us that we've got rain all the way around it. But then there's something else that's different size and shape. We got two beams going out from the radar site. The RT unit is a radio transmitter. It's a receiver and a transmitter, excuse me. Two beams go out. One goes out, one comes back, and the size and shape and frequency of that lets us know about how big the object is, or just gives us some information about that anomaly right there. And I don't know if that's going to be a drop because the radial does continue out. And sometimes hail contamination, reflectivity off of the hailstone can give it a little spike. Not a three-body spike, but a spike, if you will, of what is happening there. So that's where we are at the moment with the Houston storm. We don't really have any other warnings per se at the moment other than that one right there that we're following. Again, we've been watching some of the other folks around the region. We got Brad Arnold, who is so upset that Chip Caray chose to go to the Cardinals. I'm not sure how he's able to drive today. That's kind of the big deal overall there across that southeastern section. That'd be Sabine River that goes southward, coming out of Texas, right there in Louisiana, Texas, outside of Bon Weir, and down the Sabine and into the watershed there that is going to be near Orange and Port Arthur. Let's see, what did we have there? We also have this is up near Toledo Bend Reservoir, so just going to be watching the whole thing coming across towards Swally into that area there too. Some of the thunderstorms that we've been watching through the day today have been producing some of the stronger thunderstorms. Let's go through a little. Hang on this for just a second here, and let me go through some housekeeping sort of a situation here, because we also do have a situation that requires watching here. Let me make sure I've got that and that. So the SPC did go ahead today and issue this as an enhanced risk of strong to severe thunderstorms. Let me get this over here on something stupid. Let's see. No, that wouldn't work. Well, it kind of works. Nope, that won't work. Trying to find something that shows you. Here we go. So this is the area that we're looking at through the day today. What is PROGD from the Severe Storms Prediction Center says that this is an enhanced risk down here to the south, meaning that we have a higher risk up there. There's only two more. We got a moderate and high that's above that would take place, but enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms. And let me talk about the reading. Strong tornadoes are possible. Large hail is possible. Likely day into the mid and upper Texas coast with a damaging gust tornado threat that'll continue eastward tonight across southern sections of Louisiana, Mississippi, and into southern Alabama after midnight tonight. Then into the western Florida panhandle for the day tomorrow, which is a continuation and has a slight risk at this point for that region as well. Surface low intensification should continue along the western Gulf Coast today as a strengthening mid-level low pressure trough overspreads the Mississippi Valley, and that'll be the situation moving from there on to the north. Later tonight along the central Gulf Coast, an intense low-level jet will also overspread the Gulf Coast shoreline ahead of the surface low 2. La-da-da-da-da. That just means all of this area here that we're looking at has the potential to produce a possible tornado off and on through the day today. The most likely areas are going to be right about through here. It includes all of that there along the Gulf Coast. And you just have to go through it sort of hour by hour to pick where everything's going to be. Into southern Alabama sometime later in the night tonight. It'll be after dark before working its way across southern Louisiana, Gulfport, Gaucher, Pascagoula, through that area. It'd be after dark before it gets there. So that's pretty much that story. And then look at this. This is some 2,000 miles worth of warnings that go roughly, let me see, I don't know, can I measure this? It's going to be like, look at this. This is like 1,600. Actually, if you go over here, that's about 2,000 miles worth of warnings that go from Ciudad Juarez all the way up and over to Boston, Massachusetts. So all kinds of weather going on with this event. as it all goes northward across that region that we've been developing here through the day today. Satellite imagery, I'll show you that too because it's pretty wicked here at the moment. The satellite does indicate that we do have lots and lots of cloud cover, all of this associated with the developing low pressure, the calm ahead that you can see right about there. Let me put it in motion to show you through the day today. We've seen that thing, that's only 7 frames. Let's do about 30 or so. Put that into motion. There's your calm ahead, the low pressure center going northward. You know, when you look up, if you do a little Wikipedia thing and you say low pressure or springtime cold front or, you know, something like that, severe weather, you're going to get a picture that looks similar to this thing right here because this is it. I mean, this is not exactly expected. You never really expect them this time of the year. But, yeah, you got low pressure trying to form and dive down to the south. You've got a warm front, elongated warm front at the moment, kind of like this. And then your cool front down to the south is through this area as well. The cool front goes out about like this. Then all this, too, goes along a cold front to the north like this. Very complicated sort of a scenario, but it's cold enough air up there and thick enough for that to all be snowfall coming into Oklahoma City. And to be honest, you saw it's 31 degrees in Norman, Oklahoma, so it's not just terribly, terribly cold there while all that is going on at this moment, actually. So sort of looking at all that as we do move along there. Let me get rid of let's see if I can get rid of a couple of things here. Let's get rid of the winter stuff for un momento because it's just not going to let me. No, you're not. You thought you were going to get rid of it, Dave, but no, you're not. There we go. And then down to the south here, we've got our risk. Let's get rid of that for a second here, too. And then here's all the folks. Still have the tornado warning down here. This is a new one down to, is that new? For the next 23 minutes now, the National Weather Service out of Corpus Christi has a Victoria, Goliad, Refugio County, and south central Texas with a severe thunderstorm near Quintana moving to the northwest, or it is northwest of Quintana, northeast at 40 miles per hour. Just outside of Port Lavaca there, and Palacios, and moving northeastward at a pretty decent pace overall there, too. And then you got Big B sitting right there just to the northwest of New Iberia into Louisiana. Cloud cover beginning to move into the western side of Mississippi at the moment, too. So we'll keep our eyes on that as we go along. Let me see I want to see what the mezzo looks like here. Did they make that a mezzo? It is not. Yeah, this is it. So here's our 1 minute satellite imagery here. This is the 1 minute imagery, which gives a little bit more information about what is happening with the whole system. And we can zoom in on some of this stuff. And you can see just the undulation of the clouds, the way that they're working their way. A little bit more turbulence going on there, wave action, if you will, from Sulphur Springs back down to the south into Killeen. Just south of Dallas, where you got some of the heavier stuff. A few breaks are trying to show up from time to time, but it's no help there. And then back down to the south, you can see even the colder cloud tops beginning to pop up here as well. The cold cloud tops mean that you got higher. The clouds are much higher, and they're also up there at the top where they get much colder, which is what this whole thing is sort of about, is the cold air that is aloft is some of the reason for the rapidly rising air that's down at the surface. And you can see here on the satellite imagery, watch this as well, because you can see down at the surface we've got winds coming in from differing directions here already. Into the mid-level, we've got a wind that's coming in out of the northwest into the, down at the surface. We've got winds coming in a little bit more from the south. Here you go, too. You can see from Victoria to Port Lavaca, the blow-off of these thunderstorms already beginning to take place. And by blow-off, I'm talking about sort of the exhaust coming out of the tops of these, and you can see it there on the radar. And once again, we've got inbound clouds here down at the surface coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico. That'll be bringing those dew points up as we move along. Dew point conditions are bound to rise across this region. And actually, if we put in our METAR data and look at our dew point conditions, let's see where we are. And we do have some of these 70s beginning to show up now. And this is This is what is key. And look at what a fine line it is between having a moist, unstable atmosphere and having stability. Right here in the small town of Centon, just outside Buena Vista, Texas, we got a 72 dew point. It is 73 degrees over 72. And the wind vane says the wind's out of the southwest at 230 degrees, so it's a southwesterly wind coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico. So we got 73 over 72, and then less than, what's that going to be, a few miles away? I'll just draw a little measurement here, and you're looking at 25 miles away. It's a total difference here. We've got a temperature of 59 over 57 and a north wind. Where do you think the front is? It's going to be somewhere right there in between. You have a front that's going to be right about there that divides the air up. And actually, our tornado warning is riding along the frontal boundary. It's getting that instability right here. The tornado is right along the frontal boundary, and it's using it. It's using the temperature gradient, the difference in the temperature, because we got a 70 here into Victoria. 72 over 70 is the dew point in Victoria. Soupy stuff that'll be coming in. And this is where when you start, we call these pips and barbs in meteorology school. These are pips and barbs. I enjoyed pips and barb days. You got to draw a little bit, but very easy to see if you go along here where the warm front to this whole situation is as it goes across here off to the north, kind of like that. And where's it going? You always draw your circles or your pips in the direction that the air mass is moving. So it's kind of going in that direction right there, going off to the north at a pretty rapid clip there overall. Blues indicate where we're into the 40s and 30s as far as that situation goes here along I-10 and throughout the rest of that area there too, all the way over to New Iberia and into Eunice, Louisiana. Pretty easy to see here where you got the blues, you got the colder temperatures, and I'll just sort of draw some isotherms here for you to give you a little bit better indication of what's happening. Those are 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then some 70s down here. We got 70s here, 60s, 50s. Sounds like we're talking about a radio station, but there's what you got and what we're reporting. And all that moving onshore as we go through the next several hours. So we'll definitely be keeping that in mind as we go through and into the remainder of the afternoon today. Tornado warnings down there to the south. We've shown you some of our people who are out and about, some of those who are riding along this mass. We got Brad Arnold, Brad Adair, who are driving along the interstate system at the moment. A very wet interstate system for Brad because he's right there in the mix into downtown Houston, following along at what's happening right there. He's actually on the other side. I think he's trying to catch this situation where we had the storm coming in, the next storm that was coming in from the south moving northward. We'll go back to the radar, too, out of there to get a little bit better idea of what is happening within that storm. And looking like still we're seeing some of this trying to turn. Now there's a situation. Check this out near Wallace because it's not a tornado warning just yet. Those three areas there have possibilities. Actually, this is going to be our area of diversion as this is all coming in now, because I think at any point right here you get a tornado warning coming out of all of this. There's bound to be a tornado pop up somewhere here along this line, I think right in here as we go along, because I see like 4 different places there that are rotating. Specifically this one, if this is what it is, this one near Brazos, that looks like a tornado at the moment too, just to the east of the airport there. That looks pretty wicked there on House Road. And the others beyond. Did they just issue a new tornado warning? I think we have a new tornado warning coming in here momentarily. That's going to be just to the west of Houston, actually. Let me see what I got here. The tornado warnings that have been coming up through the day today have been sort of following this line, this linear pattern here that we were looking at through the day today. And as a result, still seeing more and more in the way of off and on thunderstorms that do build into tornadoes. What do we got here? Let me see. Give me 1 sec. I hope I didn't turn it off. Still have this tornado warning down to the south. That's a Tornado warning. I don't think they reissued that. Tornado warning in effect till 1 o'clock. That goes over to McFadden now. So the tornado warning down to the south here. That's along US 77. Tornado warning there that goes for the next 16 minutes. Pretty much one of the things that we're looking at is the off and on scattered thunderstorms that will be popping up across that region that have the ability to produce tornadoes over the next coming hour or two. So watch out for that if you're headed out and about. We never tell you not to go, stay off the roadways. That's too much of a blanket effect. Some people have to be on the roadways. I know you got emergencies. Some people have to be at work. If you're in the medical field or something, I know you got to go to work, so I don't ever say that. But if you can avoid it, maybe do so if you can avoid going in at the moment, because it's getting a little bit rough out there, and it's only going to get worse as we go through the next several hours and start seeing more and more in the way of these thunderstorms beginning to build and producing those kind of situations. I see 3 places right there that look very suspect to me when it comes to the possibility of producing or initializing and coming up with a tornado there at some point. Brad Arnold, Brad Adair out and about. We're also watching some of the other folks as well. But this thing's turning. Let's put this into motion here and take a look at this. We'll go back 30 frames, put this all into motion, and I think several of these cells are beginning to rotate. They're moving. They're whipping along, too. I mean, we got forward motion here that's got to be up into the 40 to 50 mile per hour range. This storm right here is worrisome to me because of that area right there. This is oftentimes, I don't make these calls, but I'm going to share with you, what I feel about some of these cells as they come along, and what I see. This is a big mezzo at the moment. This one is not. This one has a little bit more gate-to-gate shear. As you can see it, pixel-to-pixel shear, where we've got inbound to outbound right about there. That's telling me that we already have some indication of a tighter spin that might be occurring there into the area, and as a result, that would be one of those things that might produce a tornado very quickly, and I could see this being that area. Now, right here, we've got spin rotation that's going on that is moving away from and toward the radar site. This is away from the radar site at the moment. This whole mass is moving toward, and then somewhere here in the middle, perhaps we're seeing a little bit of a tighter spin, and that's when you would get your tornado. And if you already got a broad area here that is rotating, it gets worrisome, because if it wholly is rotating like that, it wouldn't take a whole lot for it to actually be a large tornado. This image, this is a brand new scan that just came across, not as worrisome. There's a gap between all of the inbound and outbound there. You got a couple of pixels that don't have a lot going on there at the moment. Way too loud from Brad. So we'll have to dump Brad's audio off. I don't think we knew that Brad was actually that he had audio, so we apologize for that. Yep. Was Brad going? Was he going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh? Because sometimes when he starts that, it's really loud. So I kind of get that. Other than that, we got some stuff going on El Campo, back down to 59. Wharton in that region too, then back over to Sugar Land, some more stuff happening here as well. Then North Cleveland to New Waverly and Huntsville, some of that as well, into Livingston. That's all a straight line event. If we're going to have a tornado warning, it's going to be down here, it looks like at this point, because that's where all the spin, all the rotation is at the moment. Even just higher wind that's occurring in a few of these areas too down to the south. A lone tornado warning still out there. 11 minutes on this tornado warning that goes into southwestern Victoria, east central Goliad, north central counties there, as well as we go a little bit further to the north with each one of these. Corpus Christi radar has been on the spot with that during the day today. There's the little kink that shows up, the little possible tornado that's associated with it. It's going to be right about there. It is a small situation there. Just in along County Road 239 as it goes northeastward and works its way up to US 77 here in just a few moments, but that's a tornado warned storm that'll be out there for another 11 minutes and 3/4 of an inch in diameter hail that we are looking at there too. Now we got some new thunderstorms developing here around El Campo. That's going to be moving northeastward along US 59 as you go through that region there, just outside of East Bernard. We've got some of the heavier precipitation there as well that we're watching. Brad Arnold, as you can see him right now, still into the interstate system there in that central portion of Houston. So he's trying to get out of there, but he's got 70 degrees over 66 at the moment with all of that activity right there coming from the south and to the north. Big picture. Let me show you. Excuse me. Let me show you what we got here. Just put out a new MD. Do I have it on? Yeah. There is a new meso discussion that was just put out just seconds ago. We'll get that. I'll read that off to you here in just a couple of seconds because that just came in to me, and give it a second or two. Basically what they're saying is that actually what they're saying is just the thing we just talked about, that one area there, it looks like this El Campo region is the hotbed, and the actual low pressure that we were talking about, you can see it. We saw it there pretty well when we were drawing it out on the map. Yeah, that's kind of what they're looking at. That's what they're talking about here at the moment when you get into the discussion, the meso discussion that they're looking at here, which just means thunderstorms with the probability of having a tornado remains across this area, the little bubble area that you'll see in just a few moments, indicating a warm front headed northward. And the cold front, that cold front area that we were looking at, is not too far away either, right there across that region. Brenham, actually, I mean, if you look at this, I think Brenham is probably about where our low pressure center is going to be, and the adjacent warm front out of that kind of heads just like this. So anything that's out there that is coming in out of the Gulf of Mexico, and how do I back that up? It's pretty easy. I can throw the METAR data on here. Just look at the dew point conditions, and you can see where our front is, our warm front is. So it's anything down here to the south is producing warm air. Adjacent to that, if you want to, you can draw a little bit of a cool front back down to the south, because you can see our dew point conditions change. We got 50s showing up here, 69, 20-degree temperature differential in our dew points here, and here. So classic setup here at the moment at what we're looking at. It's very classic, just not classic for January, really. It's not something we often see in January. May actually be somewhat of a trendsetter now, too, because we're going to start seeing more and more of these low pressures driving in across the southern Gulf of Mexico. They'll make their way eastward as we go through time. And as a result, we'll end up seeing some of these producing low pressures coming along the Gulf Coast all the way for the next couple of weeks, quite possibly, here in all of this area there too. So looking out for that as we go through. Right now, the tornado warning, the single tornado warning that we have, 7 more minutes on this thing near McFadden. It's moving on to the north and to the east. We do have some hail involved with this. That's what that's all about. The vertically integrated liquid is showing us that we have hail. And then further down to the south, we've got this going on as well from our radar imagery right about here. Throw the radar on top of that. That's what that looks like too. Put it in motion to show you where it's moving. It's all headed on from south to north, as you can see, and moving in along the boundary that is our cool front. You can actually see the warm front going northward on radar. This looks like a stickman sort of a situation here, but right here what you have is this and this. So this is kind of the warm front beginning to lift. You're seeing some moisture and thunderstorms along that warm front as it swivels on around like this, ends up pulling off to the north in that area just outside of Pearl and Houston. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Back to base reflectivity, the tornado warning down to the south along the line. The other deal that's going on to the north is right back up here into Houston, where we got 67. I don't think there's a 16-degree dew point right there. We've already had a confirmation, if you will, by a spotter, by the way, who says in Colorado County near Eagle Lake, a tornado, there was debris on the ground, and there may be some photographs I know we've got several people in the background who are looking to find that information for us, or any information that we have to go along with that, because it is a sort of a changing sort of scenario here as we move along through the next little while is what we'll be watching at. So that's where we stand at the present. We're in a little bit of a lull here for the moment. We're going to be efforting to speak to some of our peeps here as we move along too. But I tell you what we're going to do is we're going to leave you with a box here for just a moment with our radar data on it, and the people who are out and about riding along, we'll leave you with some of that as well, some of those people as well. And we're going to take like a 5-minute break here, regroup. I need to reset some of my computer stuff here that's not acting very well at this point. Lizzie and Tanya. Lizzie, so good to see you today. I hope you're having a good day as well. Nitro Wolf from Anniston, Alabama, over there in Calhoun County. Good to see you today, Nitro Wolf. And let's see, who else have we got? We got Marjorie. Good to see you, Marjorie. Or saw you. It was good seeing you there for just a moment. And some other people that are with us today. And we hope we'll only draw a crowd through the afternoon and continue to grow it as we move along here and move a little bit further to the north throughout the next little while. So we're going to take a 5-minute break here. We're not leaving you. We'll be back. We got our videos showing up here. We'll show you the radar from time to time. Should we have another additional warning, I'll jump back on here too. Let me just quickly tell you, they did go ahead and show the meso discussion here, which is probably just about what we were talking about. The atmosphere in the middle and upper Texas coast is favorable for supercells and tornadoes, in particular the corridor of higher tornado threat may exist from Wharton County into the Fort Bend County area over the next hour or so. The surface analysis places a surface low 50 miles to the north into Colorado County, Texas. That's what we knew. And that's pretty much what we are looking at. This is the area they're talking about that has the highest threat. I can see it. You can see it. We can see it. That's the highest threat for a tornado to pop up there in the next hour or so. Right now, I don't see anything that's super imminent. They did go ahead and push this tornado warning. It's a new tornado warning for Victoria County in south central Texas. The National Weather Service out of Corpus Christi has that. They're all over that near McFadden. It's moving northeast at about 45 miles per hour and beyond. So kind of looking at that as well. And then all that driving northward. There's a reason for all this new lightning data here. County 71, US 59 coming into El Campo across that region. We'll look at that. We'll follow that very closely. And as I said, off to the north, we're not going to forget anybody today because we do have sort of a separate situation going on with a major winter storm making its way across portions of the Red River. I mean, it is coming down in bucket loads in a few of these areas here. 1 to 2 inch rates per hour that are taking place from Chickasha over to Lawton into the Wichita Falls region along the Red River. Altus to Vernon, back to the north where the switchover is occurring. Very heavy precipitation. Some of the snow there is going to pile up to 8 to 10 inches before all is said and done. This thing passes on by and makes its way up into Cincinnati, St. Louis, Fort Wayne as we go into the evening too. So we'll be looking out for everything that is going on there as well, going through and into the rest of this afternoon. For now, I'm going to take a little break here, and we'll show you. I'm going to go down here and just leave this up where we do have the tornado warnings, those 2 tornado warnings that are in effect, Victoria, southward over to Port Lavaca and beyond, and we'll return with a little bit more information coming up here in just a few seconds. Stay with us. We'll be right back.